We have been blessed over the last several years to have Fred and Bonnie Washington with us, and some of us have got to know them, and others probably would like a chance to get to know them. And so we're hopeful today that this will give a little chance to get to know this wonderful couple and their long life of service in the Lord, and the friendships that we have developed here, and their a little bit of their story. And so I'm going to ask Bonnie all the questions first, because I know once I ask you, you're going to take up the rest of the time, right? So, so we'll start with Bonnie, and then we'll come back to you.
You don't know Bonnie.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that may be right too. So I got a lot of questions here. We'll see how many we get through. Okay, but well, tell us just a little briefly about your personal history. You know, where were you born? What was your vocation? Tell us a little bit about your family. Just give us a little information about yourselves.
Okay. I was raised in North Mississippi. The name of the community is an Indian name, like Wichita. The name of the community was Senatobia, and it was about a 5,000 back then, way back then. We had a junior college in Senatobia, Mississippi, and our community valued education, and the people in my community kind of expected after you graduated from high school that you would go on to college. I was a home birth back then. I had two older sisters at that time, and way out in the country. We were very country people. And later on, my mother had arrested tuberculosis and was pregnant. And at that time, in many southern states, they had a separate institution or hospital for tuberculosis. And so my younger sister, Linda, I didn't even know my mother was pregnant. I was 5 years old. Anyway, she gave birth, and immediately the baby was removed and brought home, and I had a baby sister 5 years younger than I, Linda. Ultimately, we lived on a dairy farm. I do not know how to milk a cow. I tried, but I'm not successful at that. But my younger sister and I would walk down to the dairy barn every day and get our gallon of milk and our tin pitcher. Rode to school on a school bus and had a very good quality education there at Senatobia City School. May I go on?
Yes, you may.
And I was a good student. I learned as the third of four daughters the way to get into my dad's heart or his pleasure was to be a really good student. And I was really an overachiever because I'm not that smart. But it brought Daddy such pleasure when I would bring home good work. So I learned that early on and was a valedictorian of my very small high school class. Then I went on a year to the junior college, and then I went on to Ole Miss, where I met this handsome man first day there at the University Christian Student Center, which had a huge impact on my life, huge. And so went on through Ole Miss and graduated and got married. And first place we lived as teachers, as a matter of fact, was in Naylor, Missouri. And I don't even think it had a stoplight, Naylor, Missouri. And we taught there for 2 years, lived next door to a couple just like us, newly married, didn't have a dime, Paulette and Gerald Clark, and they were the members of the same little small country congregation that we were members of. And those were really 2 good years. I really enjoyed them. And then we moved back to Mississippi for him to get his master's. And then we moved, and there in Mississippi, I taught at the junior college where I had been a student. There at Northwest Mississippi Junior College. Anyway, we moved on to Huntsville, Alabama, where he had worked with Boeing, and began to form a family. Our son was born, and I began to teach part-time at the University of Alabama at Huntsville in the science department. And then another daughter came along.
Yes. I'm jealous. I really am.
We cherished, and Eventually, I went back to full-time teaching at county school, and it was rough. It was really rough. I had kids that had ankle bracelets on, and in my education at Ole Miss, I had not really been prepared for that kind of clients. That was a growth period in my life, a real growth period as a teacher. And then Fred got work. Boeing moved us to here, Wichita, Kansas.
What year would that have been?
That was 1987. And I came with a haughty attitude. I thought I had received honors there at Sparkman High School in the county, and I came with a haughty attitude. Well, let me tell you, at East High School, I was surrounded by wonderful teachers, superb teachers, and I was in a new environment, new culture for sure, because as I walked along the big hallways of the old East High School, the Vietnamese students were along the hallway at lunch with their rice bowls speaking Vietnamese. And as I walked through that hallway, I thought, where am I? What's going on here? And I had a son who was 19 and a daughter who was soon to turn 16, and they were not happy. And I wasn't particularly comfortable in my role there at East High School, and those were hard years. But I developed, and there was a wonderful young woman there, Debbie Crooks, young woman, her first year of teaching, a wonderful Christian woman, young woman, and she helped me in my walk of faith that year. Eventually, I got over to Northwest High School, where we lived on that side of town, again, surrounded by wonderful, wonderful teachers. Fred and I have been cleaning out files the past week or so, trying to call out, which we've been instructed to do by our daughter. So I found something in my files this week that I wanted to share with you, that I have this opportunity. This letter is from Who's Who Among America's Teachers. And this letter says at the top, multiple year honoree, nominated by Rebecca Bryan. I'm going to read just one paragraph, okay? As you may recall, the only way educators such as yourself are selected for this honor is by being designated as the teacher who made a difference by one of your former students. The only students invited to submit nominations are those who have distinguished themselves by being recognized for excellence in either Who's Who Among American High School Students or the National Dean's List, the two most prestigious publications in the nation, honoring the best and brightest high school and college students, respectively. What an honor that was.
Yes.
And God put this old January the 28th, the year 2000, in my hands this week. I had to share it with you.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
And I have met so many wonderful people here at Riverwalk. And let me see. I think it's interesting that last Sunday you all had the pleasure of a young couple. And today you're in the geriatric. There's something about that. Anyway, and thank you for letting me share my life with you. And thank you for letting me become a member of your family.
Thank you. Fred?
In closing,
Yes. You were not lying, yeah.
when you said brief, I thought, uh-oh.
Yeah.
It doesn't go well when you saying brief and you're just saying going to ask her first.
Right.
This is going to be not near as interesting as hers. And I'm not going to tell you which one I have some information I'm going to pull out and read. So everybody be on their toes to be ready. I'm kidding. I don't have anything on anybody here. I guess I've discovered that when you ask somebody about where they were born, where they're from, that's probably she mentioned the geriatric age. That's a easy, comfortable way of asking people how old they are, okay? So my observation in 84 years of observing the answer to that question, I'm going to tell you when I was born. I was born on a dark and stormy night and on the James Alexander Plantation in Arkansas. I started to say homeschooled, but I was born at a home also, and it was on November the 21st, 1996.
No, it wasn't.
That's the answer to the question of how old you are. I've heard many people say it, 29. Right? So I had a good education as well, starting out when I went to school. The first 2 months of my school at the Alexander School, which was on the plantation there, I actually went through 1st through 12th grade, and my two older brothers, oh, by the way, there's a thing known, I've learned this over my 84 years, is that the youngest in the family that's born is usually the smartest and the best looking. And I had two older brothers, one he was 19 when I was born, and the other one I think was 16. The other one was, I think, about 4. Then there was me, naturally. So that's about all the history I've got, except I've got a long list of all the way up to the time that I met her, which was at the University Christian Student Center. And that was probably, I was a country boy as well. And my mother was a seamstress, and she made all my shirts. I never had a store-bought shirt until I was in college, where I had to have one that had a special tie, and hers that she made didn't quite do right, even though they were the correct pattern and everything. But I met her there. That was lucky for me. If I remember right, I was sitting between two girls when I met you. Is that right? Do you remember that? No. Okay.
But you do, don't you?
Yeah, right. Yeah. But see that she's the choice. You don't get to answer questions. I can talk for a long time. But yes.
You said you had two older brothers. Who was the other one? You had 3.
He was George Washington. He was a lot older than I was. No, he was the one that's 4 years older than I, and his name was George Washington. So, and he passed away several years ago, and that was a bad day in my life. So, but there basically at the student center, that's probably where the real foundation of what I was believing and what I was trying to do was, fostered by that Christian Student Center. And I still remember many people there. In fact, you mentioned someone about she had never done anything like this, but they roasted me one time, and there was a lady that was in the University Christian Student Center that worked in the library and was older and was kind of really fortunate going what was going on. And she moved later in years to Oklahoma, and her son, who I don't remember whether Bonnie mentioned, I know she did in some of the classes and stuff, her son had some severe surgery, but he's a lawyer and a comedian. And that lady who I went to school with, her son and she came up and they did a roast for me for my 80th birthday. And so that brought back all the memories of what the Student Center, and I found out how important that was. And I know probably the Reeses know how much that's important to college students. If there's anyone here that's had any experience with those, that's something that's on the college campuses, and I wish it was something that was able to do through the high schools, where the church could establish some kind of relationship with people that's going on, because that was really important in my life. I know it was in Bonnie's, and if y'all ever have any influence over, now that some of you are involved with students, your children are starting to school or been in school, you have a way of getting the Christian example of fellowship in that environment. You ought to do whatever you can to do that. I'm not going to talk too much about my life because Bonnie has already answered all the questions, so I think we can open it up to the floor if you would like. But
Tell us a little bit about how the relationship started and flourished. I know you met at the union, but what caused the spark and the interest?
I chased him for 3 years until he caught me. And it began that first night at the University Christian Student Center before I'd even had the first class. I was sitting in a chair, and Fred was standing here, and he reached down and kissed me on the mouth. Wow. Sparks went on. And it was very much an on-again, off-again romance. But we were married in 1964, and in September, we will celebrate 62 years. I cannot believe that. Thank you. Thank you. So, what was the question?
I think you answered it.
that was initiation, because I was one of the leaders of the Student Center at the time, and that was an initiation process. So it was an obligation.
You kiss everybody like that? I didn't know that.
Well, those lights are.
Yeah. It's amazing what you can learn after. Well, we'll turn away from that for a second. Give Fred some time to recover here and tell us a little bit about your conversion to Christ. Did you grow up in the faith? Is it something that came later? Talk to us a little bit about how you came to faith.
You still making her go first?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
My dad did not participate in religious services, but my mother and her parents had been members of the Church of Christ, a little country congregation, and Dad respected that, and Dad provided transportation for us to be able to go to services. And I look back upon that, and I just marvel at that Dad was 4 daughters, no sons, 4 daughters, and that meant so much to him. So I was raised going to church. I never knew any different, actually. I went to Camp Wildwood at Searcy, Arkansas. And at Camp Wildwood, I was about 13. We had our devotional at night, one night, outside of camp, and there was a river down below the bluff that we were on, and up on the other side was a cliff or a higher elevation. And we had a wonderful devotional that night, and it's just something about it being at night and intimate like that with the other students around me. But at the end of the devotional, up on that cliff, they had built a cross, and they lit it up. They lit it up that night, and it really touched my heart, it pierced my heart, what my Savior had done for me. And I asked the devotional leader that night, I asked him if I could be baptized that night into a relationship with Jesus Christ. So I was baptized there at that swimming pool there at Camp Wildwood. So, and I have walked with Jesus all my life. I wouldn't, it's such an integral part of my life that, and he's never failed me. He's never failed me.
Fred?
We moved from the Alexander Plantation to a little community called Mounds, Arkansas, when my father went from sharecropping, I guess, on the plantation to buying a grocery store in this little community called Mounds. Is the Alexander Plantation where I was born and then went to school. I went only started school there in the first grade. But really I walked to school because we lived about 2 miles from the 1 through 12 schoolhouse that was there on the Alexander Plantation. And the story was that I didn't like school. I didn't think it was appropriate for me. And first, we had summer school. We worked, the school to go 2 years, 2 months. I'm getting confused because I'm senile. 2 months we had summer school in July and August because we had to get in the month of June, we were out of school to chop cotton. And then we had 2 months of school, and then we got out in the fall to pick cotton. So that was the process. During that's where I went to start school, and my brother that was just older than I, we had to walk, the one that was 4 years older than me, to school, and that was, going to school there was good. And I knew the janitor, so I stayed with the janitor for 2 months, not going to classroom, because I had to help him. He would unload groceries that had to be put on the shelves for the cafeteria. He had to clean up when various things happened around the building, and he needed help. And so that's what I did for 2 months. The last, I think, week of school, my brother, older brother, came to school with me and took me to school and said I had to stay there. And so that's where I started. But then during that fall is when we moved to Mounds, Arkansas. And this is the first remembrance I have of anything about church, is across the road. There was a crossroad there at Mounds, and there was several little buildings around. And where the grocery store was, and across the diagonal from another place, there was the one-room schoolhouse. So it went from a 1 through 12 to a 1 through 8 and a one-room schoolhouse. And that schoolhouse also, the church met there in the schoolhouse on Sundays. And being there just right across the road, that's where my mother and I mostly, sometimes my father would go over. That's where we started going to church. Before that, it was mostly associated with the Baptist church on the plantation. That was a wonderful time because most people, the influential on my life, were probably members of that congregation. They didn't have elders, but they were 5 men that were taking the responsibility of the leadership, and they all had children about my age, different ones, and they had developed a pretty good youth program of interaction for what all, and that started about that time when I was in the first grade. Skipping a whole lot of stuff, as we grew up together, those 5 men and their families, their wives too, but it was a collective thing. They worked with the congregation, and mainly they worked with the youth. I tell the story about there was a Baptist church building there right across from this one where this was, and I tell you a long story about that because the area that my father owned and everything, when the school closed, they had to find another place to meet, and then the school consolidated because it was closing down. And the idea was the church, they went together, the people did, and they bought the building, but then they had to move it off of the guy's land that was on the Alexander plant, not Alexander, on his property, and he had a rule that if the school ever closed, he got the land back. So he wanted the land back, so they had to do that. And it turned out that my father had a place, had enough land for the move the thing, and they moved the building over there. And to make a long story short about my conversion, I was very active in a youth program in the church for many years, but it was until I wasn't baptized until I was 14. But I probably I knew plenty enough that that's what I should be doing. But it took Laura B. Chaffin, who was the wife of one of those leaders of the church. One of my friends, who was only 12, he was the youngster of a gang that we put together. At a gospel meeting, he went forward, and my other friends and I were sitting back there on the bench where he was, and we were all saying, "Oh no, there goes Butch," and being nervous about that and everything. But Butch went ahead, and he was up there. We didn't have a baptistry there in the building because it was an old school building, so we had to go to Rector, Arkansas, which was 8 miles away, where they had the congregation that had a baptistry, and Brad Brummett was the minister. And we were going to go there, and so all of us were going to go, all the young people were going to go up there in this car, and Larry B. Chaffin come up here, and she looked, Jerry Pat Evans and Charles Chaffin and not Butch, he was the one that was 12-year-old, his brother, Glenn, were all sitting there, but she points directly at me and says, "You know what you ought to do." And I said, okay. So then when we went to Rector, Arkansas, then the rest of us went up and we were baptized. So my story wasn't quite as, touching as hers was. That's a good thing. Who helped me out there? I still say that wasn't the most important thing. My conversion wasn't the most important thing about my life. It was that group, that youth group, and those 5 men that were so concerned about the teaching that was going on was what was important in my conversion. That ought to be long enough for you.
Yeah, sure.
So,
Tell us.
different story.
Yeah, different, but good. Tell us, and whichever one wants to go first is fine. Tell us a little bit about what gifts you believe that God has given you to serve, and how have you used them in service over these 29 years?
Okay. That was a hit for me to go first.
Well, no, just
I reviewed this question a little bit, and I could get haughty and about what I'm proud of or think I've got and everything. And I thought, that's really not the answer. I think what I have come to know is that the gifts that I have or God gives me is not an event. It didn't happen when I was born. It didn't happen at any particular time. And even though I think I have many, you're not interested in some of them that I could portray what I think is, but I think God is still at work within me, and He's doing a lot of things to help me decide how I can, whatever that gift may be, and that they can come, and whatever I'm going to need, I will get that gift. It's my job to start recognizing it and being able to put forth. I don't know whether that makes sense or not, but that's what I don't want to dwell on, I'm good at this, and that's what I'm comfortable with. I want to dwell on what I need to be able to recognize and use more than it is what gift I've got.
Okay.
I don't know whether that makes sense or not, but it does to a 29-year-old.
I thought it was spirit, the question was directed towards spiritual gifts. And
I did too. I'm just saying I hope they're still coming for me. I hope it's not finished because I need a lot more. And
I noticed that you
we're going to
said,
argue here in just a minute. We're good at that.
I thought you had just got through saying that you had many gifts, talents. Never mind. Okay, and he does. And he does. But my spiritual gifts, things that I have recognized that have benefited other people and have spiritually affected them, would be the gift of hospitality and the gift of encouragement. I believe that those are two gifts that the Lord gave me. So, how have we used them?
Yes, if you'd like to expand, yeah.
Well, hospitality, using your home as a place of welcomeness to many different people over our history. And the gift of encouragement, I mainly use that in writing. And I know also in my presence, I hope I have encouraged students. I was the Bible club leader in any school situation that I was in. I was the Bible club leader. And I hope I encouraged those students in that. But many letters and cards and notes of encouragement to other people throughout my lifetime. And being a Bible class teacher. But I wasn't nowhere near as other Bible class teachers as I look back on it. But I enjoyed it, and I enjoyed my children, and I know that they seem to like me as their teacher as well. But a teacher is not my spiritual gift.
Okay, interesting. A little more on the personal side now. Tell us a time when you especially felt the presence of God in your life.
This is personal. I probably wouldn't want to share some of those things, but I think I can share one that I've been aware of probably all my life, but more and more in the last, say, 10 years. It's hard to talk about the presence of God without, on a personal basis, without, and not being too personal, without talking about the congregation where you essentially go and say, oh, I want to be in the presence of God, or worship where other people are. And one of the things that makes me feel like God is not only in my life, but in the life of the people that I visit with, is many times, whatever my participation is in the worship or in teaching a class or being in a class, if I have to do some reflection or reflection or also projection on what I'm going to be doing or saying, it's how often whatever I hear from other people that are participating in that seems to mesh and go into either the songs that are selected or the thoughts that, I hate to say this, that Curtis has or someone does for the communion or the prayer, how whatever I'm thinking, how that meshes together. that's, to me, that's not any particular talent I have, or probably the person that's, even though they have those particular talents and gifts, the person that's doing it, that's God putting those things together to bring that encouragement and everything that we need together. So in the last, I'd say 10 years of my life, that's the thing that makes me know that that's the presence, not only knowing that someone's in my life, but he's in the life of everyone that we're associating with. That's about as personal as I want to get.
I understand. How about you, Bonnie?
The question is, when I felt the closest to the Lord?
Yeah, when did you especially feel the presence of God in your life?
Right. Well, there have been many episodes in my life of deep sorrow that my Lord helped me through that. But in the 90s, here in Wichita, Fred and I were separated for 5 or more years. We were separated. And those were very hard years for me. And during that time, that Debbie Crooks, that young Christian, no, it wasn't her, it was somebody else, I'm sorry, said, hey, you might want to attend the Institute of Basic Life Principles that came here to Wichita, Kansas, led by Bill Gothard. And I was able to do that 2 years. And he came into Wichita and he would present it at night for a week. He was outstanding. Institute of Basic Life Principles. And he presented principles that you could live by that would anchor your life. It meant so much to me, and it helped me through that period. Oh boy, and of course, I had time. I wasn't particularly maintaining a bigger home at that time, and we weren't together. And I spent more time in Bible study and prayer and becoming deeper in my faith. So that was a time that I really felt God helped me through.
The flip side of the question now, and this one probably is harder to answer in a public sort of way, but if you're willing to share, is there a time when you felt either abandoned by God or struggled to discern His presence in your life?
No. When my older sister Joy developed melanoma over a period of 12 years, and she was like a surrogate mother to me because my mother had emotional, sometimes 4 girls. Anyway, Joy, she was like a surrogate mother to me. Anyway, her 12 years of knowing that she had melanoma and probably would be passing away from it, that was hard. I spent a lot of prayer asking God not to let her die. Rebecca, our daughter, having scoliosis and severe surgery, rods in her back when she was 13, and how that changed her physical abilities. Those were times that I had to really lean on God. Movement to here, to Wichita, Kansas, with 2 teenagers that weren't happy. I wasn't happy. Those were very difficult times. I had to lean into the Lord, walking with me step by step. And getting older. Getting older has been a challenge for me because I slow down, takes me longer to do everything. This time of my life is being a challenge for me. But God will see me through it.
I don't think I've ever felt that God left me, but I have lots of particular moments when I'm not saying I left God, but He definitely was not first in my life, which is, it still happens every once in a while. So It's probably will until it can no longer happen. That's the promise we have, right? That it can that can no longer happen. Okay.
On a lighter note, you are obviously a part of a certain generation, as we all are. And so what do you feel like your generation has contributed to the world, and where maybe have been some areas that have been a struggle within your generation? And just, so not just you personally, but the society you came up in and the era you came up in.
Some of you know my hobby, or one of my hobbies anyway, and some of you may not. But one of the things that's happened, I don't know whether it's in my generation or not, but I'm talking about in my lifetime. I think it's something that's happened that's both positive and negative. And I'll start with, I guess I'll call it my generation. My generation figuring out how to use God's creation of the electromagnetic spectrum that goes throughout the world, how mankind can use that and progress and benefit. And if you don't know me, I'm talking about maybe the starting from my idea of when I started this, is the idea of radio. But that's still going on. People are still learning how to do that, and they're widening their scope about how God created this electromagnetic spectrum that takes care of everything, all the new technologies that's going on that's happened over, and you can see what some of the problems are associated with that, when the difficulties and the decisions have to be made, but you can also see all the positive. And so I think that's still going on. I think I could probably go, what are these Gen X and Gen Zs and whatever they are when they talk about serious generations? So I think it's probably covering that whole, learning how God created the electromagnetic spectrum and how that works. We're progressing through that, and we can learn how to use it good, and we can learn how to use it bad. And I think that's dominant in my lifetime, and I think it's probably going to be dominant in many of you young people's lifetime that you're going through right now, and even in some of the future things that are going to go happen. Now that's a kind of a profound, no, it's not a profound answer, it's a profound question. It's kind of like my understanding of a practical way of talking about that profound question. It's not one generation, it's the whole thing that's happening through all of the generations. It's just taking on a little different flavor, because I don't know whether we learn more about God's creation, and our natural ideas, well, how are we going to use it? And then we got choices. We can either use it for good or evil, I guess is what I'm saying. Now, it probably does not fit with what she thinks her best change is or whatever.
Again, the question, please.
So the question is, what do you feel like your generation has contributed to society and also struggled with, maybe, if you're willing to comment to both?
And my struggle is the fact that I was raised when morals across the media, anything that was presented, aligned basically with the Word of God. And that was in the 50s when I remember that growing up, and then in college, really. But I have seen the degrading of our culture through my lifetime, and it frightens me. It makes me sad. And the legacy I want to leave is that we try to support the family of God throughout our life and let our children know that. Now I'm going to make a commercial. After we left Wesleyan Church of Christ, because of change of the teaching there and came to Riverwalk, we didn't want to lose our friendships there at all. We made important friendships. So we began a monthly singing and invite anybody. And first we started in the building there at Wesleyan Church of Christ. and then into our home, but it wasn't wheelchair accessible. So now we've moved it to Oxford Villa, which is at the intersection of 29th Street and Mays Road, just to the west of there. Oxford Villa. And we meet in the building for active seniors. Today is the fourth Sunday, that's when we have it, the fourth Sunday every month at 4 o'clock. And it will be today. Everybody's invited. And we meet
Not
for an hour.
everybody, if y'all are okay, we were in a room.
And we meet for an hour, and we pick out our songs and give it to the song leader. And he is the best. The song leader is the best. So another thing, and I'll be quick.
You're going over.
One other thing. After we came to Riverwalk, it was published in your a handout where the area singings are every day.
It is.
Countywide. Yeah, countywide. And Fred and I have begun to do that for the past 3 years. And we visited congregations that I had never been in before. And we love it. It's once a month. Now, it's in the bulletin, and you can find out when it is. And I ask you to participate because it seems like it's just the geriatric set that goes. And I want the younger generation to have that, the beauty of coming together and singing and worshiping our Lord in song. And those are area-wide, and they're so spiritually uplifting. Today we sang a song, "I'll Fly Away," and we had an African-American gentleman, give me his
Gary
name.
Daniels.
Gary Daniels, came in a wheelchair, so frail, but at the end of each one, and you knew he was an older man, and you knew him up there singing that last song, "I'll Fly Away," and he put such energy in it, and he passed away last year, Gary, but his son now leads that song at the end when he's present, "I'll Fly Away." You come, you would enjoy it so much. I really appreciate you. I mean, you've been so kind to us to listen and not be on your cell phone or whatever. So I appreciate it. Thank you for letting us do this.
Well, Fred and Bonnie, we are grateful that you are here, that you are part of this congregation. We've got just a little taste of your life story here today, and we see the providence of God at work in the good, and I think in the struggles, and it has made two beautiful souls. And you are an encouragement to us. You really are, and we love you guys. And thank you for being a part of us. And we love you and are grateful for you. So
We love y'all.
thank you for being here today, and we will go ahead and dismiss. Yes, give them a round of applause. You are dismissed.